Hey everybody, happy Sunday and welcome to Call the AD. Today we're going to be talking about watches we wish existed. So we've often, you see a new watch come out and there's something wrong with it, or you have a dream watch, but there's just something that doesn't work for you. We're going to get into a bit of that. And I'm joined today by my lovely wife, who's over here on my screen. She's going to be the new co-host for the show. So we're going to be sharing our ideas through some hopefully delightfully crappy Photoshop jobs on watches we wish existed. So welcome, Stephanie, as the new co-host.
Yeah, thanks. No, it's great. Loved Dan and loved what you guys did. And I apparently have nothing better else to do on Sundays at noon. So I feel like you all will be getting some insight into 90% of the conversations that Arthur and I have on like a regular basis about watches. So I don't know. Hopefully it's entertaining.
Yeah, it should be good. It should be good. And for those who've followed the show for a while, my good friend Dan, who I've done this with since the start of Call the AD, needed to step back to focus on some other things. So we're going to miss him, certainly. But the show wouldn't be what it is today without him. And hopefully we'll see him showing up in the chat in future as well. So no typical YouTube drama here. We're still good buddies. Just he needed to go do some other things, which is totally cool. So happy to be joined by Stephanie. Now I guess Call the AD stands, the A stands for Arthur and the D stands for darling wife.
I don't know. We got to work on that. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, something like that. So let's start things off with a wrist check. What are you wearing today, Stephanie?
I have my Cartier Santos Scalpely, or however you say it. And I'm in a very like two-tone mood. I got like all my two-tone stuff on right now, which is just kind of fun. But I love this watch. I got it like a little over a year ago. It's a great price. It was misadvertised as a quartz and got it for a good deal. And it's automatic. I love it. It's great. Like if you need present ideas for your girl, this is a great one and a great price point.
Yeah,
so,
that's like an 80s model, I think, 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, I think late 80s.
Yeah. The value is pretty crazy. That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that watch. And I'm also bringing a little bit of guilt here today with my Tudor Black Bay 58. Probably my most worn watch. And I thought it'd go good with a green sweater. So there you go.
Which you still won't let me borrow.
That's right. It's too perfect, except our dog bit it recently. So that kind of put a damper on the perfection.
So now you should let me wear it sometimes, I think. But
we'll see.
I'll buy my own blue one, maybe.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. So Stephanie, do you want to introduce the topic? You want to tell people more about what the idea was here? I'll go ahead and get our little presentation up here as well.
Sure. So I thought it would be a fun one because it's something that you and I chat about all the time. Like particularly when new watch releases come out or new special editions come out, it's like, oh, well, sure, if I had that money lying around and if they change the size a little bit, or if like the hands looks a little bit different, or what if they did this instead? So I thought it would be fun to like go through some watches that if we had our way that we would design. All this to being said that like I didn't even use Photoshop. This is just PowerPoint and clip art. And I think the rules are we're ignoring physics, we're ignoring like mass marketability. This is just like my personal preferences, your personal preferences, and we haven't really talked to each other like I've seen the ones that you've put together, but I haven't looked in detail or talked to each other detail. So I think it'll be a little bit of a surprise explanation for each of them.
Yeah.
So anyway, if there's any watch brands out there, we are designers for hire. I think you'll really see the quality of our portfolio here and the true expertise and talent that has gone into this from two like aerospace and mechanical engineers with with zero experience in watch design or jewelry design. But I think we really nailed it. And I did just want to point out that I think the underscores in your Instagram handle are stupid, but people should still follow you.
Oh no, don't worry. So I regret it every time I have to say them. It's terrible.
Well, you're in and out. So I think with that, I'm pretty sure you're up first. So do you want to
Yeah,
go through
okay.
your first
I'm gonna do a
dream
little
watch?
preamble here. So for me, I think those
Okay.
who watch the show know that I'm kind of picky about things, and often a watch is like perfect except for whatever deal breaker. And Dan and I actually did a show talking a bit about that. So the first one is really like a legendary chronograph, but that I have a couple problems with that I wanted to take the opportunity to fix. And if I could, I think it would be like one of my favorite watches if they just made these tweaks. So I present to you the Tic Tic Vroom El Primero. So what this is I'm often stuck between the two sizes they make for the El Primero. The traditional 38 millimeter, which is, yes, it's the traditional size, but it feels a little small to me. And the 42, which 42 is a reasonable size. I can wear it just fine. But for some reason on the El Primero, it just ends up feeling a little large for me on the wrist. So what I did was I took my favorite El Primero case, which is the one they've used on these recent revival models and the manufacturer edition, the one with all the 3 blue subdials, and I upsized it to 40 millimeter diameter. Then I know the original 1969 El Primero had a date, but I'm a no date kind of guy. I love the symmetry, so screw the date. It's gone. Through my excellent imperceptible Photoshop job there. And then I like the manufacturer edition that they did. I think that's the only one in steel with this revival case that's currently in production. But the 3 blue subdials is not really sort of like true to the history, and I kind of like it when there's a little more variety. So I'm going with a silver running second subdial, a gray hour counter, and a blue minute counter. And to me, that's the El Primero I want. I think it would be one of my absolute favorite watches if they just made it. It looks like we've got a couple people agreeing on that the no date is better. My buddy Roberto's here. Koos feels similar. Terry thinks it looks like a Breitling. It is maybe it's just the busy sort of tachymeter scale thing going on there. And Karan thinks I should be the new boss over at LVMH. I'm going to agree on that one. So what do you think, Stephanie? Did I do okay?
Yeah, no, I think you did great. So for me, like from my wrist size, I think the regular 38 El Primero is perfect. But there's always something that's like kept me from buying that watch, and I don't really know what it is. But for you, I know you're like in between sizes, right? Like you've tried on the standard 38, you've tried on the bigger one, and like neither work for you. And as much as I would love to like the 38 be one that we could share, first, we don't share watches, and like two, the 38 is just too small. I personally like the date at 5 o'clock. I think that's a cool feature of it, but I do like the cleanliness of what you've done here. I would have made the running second hands blue because I think that's the one you actually like look at and use the most. But I like it. I mean, you would totally buy this watch. So
I would. And
yeah, I think it's cool.
I particularly just love that revival case. The way they do this like radial brushing on the lugs and stuff here is super, super cool. Super cool.
I think it's cool. Yeah.
So I've heard some rumors about potential changes coming to the El Primero line. I doubt this is one of the ones we're going to see, but I can dream. So.
Well, Zenith, if you're listening, you could sell one of these. So that's
that's right. And maybe from the comments, a couple more people would buy it. Yeah. So do you want to do your first one? Do you want to give any preamble, or should I just flip the slide?
You can go ahead and flip the slide. So my only comment was that before I get into the watches I've designed, I think this Zenith is not practically perfect in every way, but actually perfect in every way. And Karan, thank you for getting this one for me. I love it, like truly stepping back. And I know I've like gone on way too much about this on Instagram and other things before, but if I was going to design a watch for me truly from scratch, this is it. Like perfect size, unbelievably comfortable, really cool movement. The dial is stunning. There's a little bit of space stuff. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a big space geek and work in space. And then, just like a touch of bling. I went a little overboard with the diamond bezel, but I think this is like the perfect modern ladies watch for me. So anyway, Zenith already nailed it. But with that, I'm going to switch to a Panerai that I would design. So go ahead.
And for those not familiar, this is the Zenith Defy Midnight, it's called. So yeah, cool.
Yeah,
all right.
Sorry.
Yeah. So here's your first real one. Now that you've just
okay.
stopped bragging about your midnight.
Yes, exactly. So as you'll see here in my excellent PowerPoint skills, Photoshop editing job, I love the 38mm duets. I think they're great. I think it's kind of bullshit that they're not super waterproof. So I decided to add, to make it waterproof, at least 100 meters. And then I also added, pardon my language, for fuck's sake, on it. But like, really, this watch should actually have some water resistance. It's totally ridiculous that that it doesn't. And, I'm just going to wait for a little while for it to like come on the pre-owned market and, drop price. But I love this watch. The other thing that I do, which I think you'll see a theme throughout, is I took out the date window. I don't think it suits this watch. And I think Panerai's numerals are so cool. Like I would love to have the 3 there. So I found a font in PowerPoint that was not anywhere close, but whatever. So that's my Panerai. And I have to say, like, I want it waterproof, but the reality is, would I ever actually go swimming with this because I'm going to keep a leather strap on it? Absolutely not. Like, of course I'm going to take it off before I like shower or jump in the water. But it's the principle of the thing that I want it to be waterproof, which is so dumb. Like I should just get the watch because it's like really great as is. But those are things I would think about it.
I'm with you there. It's really about the principle of the thing. The fact that they took a dive watch with the Due turned it into something that's, I think it's like 30 meters water resistant or something, which sure you can live with it, but it's kind of the principle of the thing, right? I mean, I've seen you try this one on, and it's a cool watch, but I really like the changes you made to it here. It would be better, for sure.
It is the principle of the thing. So first off, I haven't gone diving in like 5 years, which I'm dying to go do again, of course. 2, if I actually go diving, I'm wearing my SKX Seiko 013. Like, let's be realistic. That's what I'm actually going to go dive with. But like, yeah, I'd kind of like to be able to jump in a pool with it, I guess, like in this imaginary world where I'm wearing a Panerai by a concrete pool. But it's the principle of the thing.
I think there's a lot of people with you here on the water resistance too. I kind of find this comment funny. Panerai are about leather straps, not water resistant. I think it is funny that they are like the one dive watch that's sold on and so often worn on a leather strap, but it's kind of the history and the heritage, and it looks good. So, yeah.
Now, I will say, like, this is blasphemy. I know, but I get leather straps wet all the time. I know this like makes you cringe beyond belief, Arthur, but when I go out to the barn to ride horses, and I'm usually like carrying water buckets or hosing off a horse or something, I'm often wearing a watch with a leather strap, and not super nice ones, not like custom leather straps I've gotten, but like I wear with leather straps. They get wet and they patina really cool and they get really soft. And around the barn, there's like all sorts of leather, which often gets wet, but it just ends up being like really nice and supple and worn in. So yeah, I probably wouldn't jump in the pool with a leather strap, but I also don't like freak out like you do if it's like raining and, you're wearing one of your nice deluxe straps. So
yeah, you're more embracing of the patina on the watch itself as well as the straps. But yeah,
patina, like bang the crap out of it.
Yeah, a little bit. Roberta's pointing out that people are always accidentally falling in pools, so yeah,
yes,
got to look out for that. At any moment, really, right? Cool. Yeah. No, I like that one.
Move on.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Your turn.
I'm going to go to my next one, and I actually don't remember what comes next. We'll flip the slide, and then I'll talk about it. Yes, my Panerai suggestion. So I have a PAM 560, which is the base dial 44 millimeter in the Betterini case, for those that know the PAM cases, which is the one they designed in the 90s to be for sort of like the modern revival. But this watch here is basically, it's the PAM 372, which is currently made in 47 millimeters, sort of one of the more true historical models. It's got the like dirty beige lume. It's got the gold hands, and the 1950s case, which is a lot more three-dimensional and really shows its roots to sort of the original pocket watch cases that were made into the first Panerais. So I think it's one of their absolute prettiest watches. My only change is I shrunk it to 44 because for me, that's a great size. I know it breaks the trueness to the legacy of the watch, but I would buy that in a heartbeat if they made it in 44. I don't believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe they make a 1950s case Panerai in 44 millimeters without a date. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I would like to know. With a base dial, just clean, simple. Yeah. So Roberto, I think, is referring to the 372.
Roberto agrees with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I like it, Arthur. I think this is a little bit of a lazy edit, but it is something you've been talking about for a while.
It is lazy.
And while I do have a Panerai, that I like. First off, this one looks very similar to the one that you have, which is great. I think some people look at Panerais, and I'm putting this like to myself a little bit because I haven't gone like into the depths of the brand yet. To me, Panerais can kind of be like some people look at 911s, right? Where like all 911s or all Porsches look kind of the same. Like I could kind of see that with Panerais, of like all Panerais look kind of the same. But with these like little tweaks, it's like what it looks like every other Panerai. But no, like I get it. I get what you're trying to accomplish here. Would this be an either or? Like you would trade out your other one for this?
If they made this in this size, yeah, I would only want this one. That'd be fine with me. Let's see. Oh, Karan was saying the 1950s case, there are some in 45. Will that 1 millimeter make a difference? No, I think I'd take it in 45, but I don't know that they make one with its no date with the base dial. Again, tell me if I'm missing something because I would want that watch. Yeah. So anyway, let's see. John Watchsmith says, so the water resistance is important for legacy, but the case size isn't. But the water resistance is also practical to me. So I like what I like. Just different priorities. So you want to go to your next one?
I think let's go to mine.
Okay, cool. Ooh.
Okay, I did Stephanie's special edition Speedmaster. So I have a First Omega in space, which I love. It's a fantastic speedy for me. But one of the frustrations that I have with all of the special editions that come out is that they're all tributes to things that happened decades ago. And like, as great as that is, and like those accomplishments are amazing, and it's wonderful to have, anniversary editions of moon landing, of the Snoopy, like those are all great, but I would love to see like a Speedmaster that reflects some modern space accomplishments and things that have happened like in the past. Well, I mean, I take past 20 years, but let's say like, here, these are all things that have happened in the past couple of years. So first I'll talk to the pictures. On the subdials here, I have like a picture of the International Space Station, because that is like such a testament to what is possible with technology and like, getting all these countries to come together, amazing accomplishment that people have been living and working in space consistently for 20 years at this point. Then I have the Mars rover, because that's just epically cool, and I think there should be something to talk about Mars. And then the last subdial is in recognition of the first all-female spacewalk that happened earlier this year. I don't know, it's not a great image, but you get the idea. Like just some like
kind of squashed. Excellent Photoshop job there.
Yeah, it wasn't even Photoshop. That was really well done. And then on the back, I thought it would be cool to have like SpaceX next rocket landing. But you know how on the back of the new special edition Snoopy, Snoopy's like riding the Apollo capsule like around the back of the dial. I'm ignoring physics here, but if Omega could find some way to like make the rocket go up and down, like almost like those pens that you like tip over, that's what the arrow is meant to represent. Like,
oh yeah, okay. So that wouldn't actually be on the watch. That's just an illustration of the motion. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it would be like under a sapphire, whatever. Find a way to make that happen. Like the rocket come up and down. And then, more to like the watch shape is like, I love the case size of the first Omega in space. It fits me perfect. The standard Speedmaster professional case, like the lugs just hang over my wrists a little bit. It's fine, but it's a pet peeve. And, if I'm dreaming this watch, the price is like probably not going to be like, I don't want to spend a lot of money on a watch that's not going to fit me. So it's my design. I can do what I want. I want the first Omega in space case. I would also want the 321 movement. I don't know if the 321 movement would fit in this case. I don't really care. I'm ignoring physics. I think
it would.
Okay. And then I would want a flat link bracelet because I think those are really cool. So I think I really nailed it with this. I don't really think you need to make any changes at all. It just seems I think I got it.
I like the creativity on this one. I feel like my designs are often like, oh, here's a watch that exists and it's something that bothers me and I fixed it. But this is sort of like, maybe you're a little frustrated with Omega's limited editions and how they're always looking so far into the past, maybe? Is that kind of where you're coming from?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, it would be good to have like some celebration of modern space achievements. Generally, I also tend to get frustrated with all the focus on the past and like, yeah, it was so great. It was, I don't want to do anything to take away from that, but like, let's celebrate some of the really cool things that are happening now, because it is pretty significant and pretty major, and that would be fun. And I would like to encourage people in the space business to like keep wearing real watches and not like Apple watches all the time. So maybe this would get like the next generation of engineers a little bit more excited in watches, particularly for those of us that like weren't alive during Apollo. Like, it would be cool to have something that we worked on or were a part of or like witnessed history of. So
space is not space is not all about the moon, especially not now, right? I mean, sure, it's in space, it was a great accomplishment, but there's some other really cool stuff that's gone, at least by the watch industry, kind of unrecognized. So I think there's people with you on this one. For sure. Cool. No, I like it a lot. You almost could have gone with the current 321 as sort of like the base, right? Because the case is similar to the first Omega in space and it's got the flat link. But I see you wanted to keep the alpha hands here. Is that a favorite thing?
I love the alpha hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I just think they're beautiful. I think they're really cool. And like, I don't know. I would want to keep the alpha hands for sure.
Cool.
But yeah, I think Omega could like be well served to like, change marketing strategies a little bit, particularly as like, your folks are growing up and can starting to be able to afford higher end pieces. Like, you don't just need to market to Apollo era.
Right. Like, are we going to be like living on Mars and are we going to be like living on Mars in 50 years and they're going to be like, here's the 100th anniversary of the moon landing, Speedmaster, and everyone's like, we're on Mars now. Like, what the hell? Move on. Yeah, something like that. So cool. I like that.
Anyway, move on. You're
okay.
next.
Cool. I don't remember what I have next. I think I do. Here we go. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I really love IWC pilot watches, and particularly the big pilot. For those that may not know, I have IWC Top Gun chronograph, the black ceramic one that's 44.5, and it's a big watch, but I think it wears well. The big pilot for me is just a little bit pushing a little bit too far. I think it's 46.5 if I remember right, or 46. And with those long lugs, even on people with decently sized wrists, I think it really pushes it. And so if you want like a time only IWC pilot, your options are kind of like the Mark 18 or the big Pilot. So you've got 40 millimeters or 39 with the Spitfire, and you've got 46 or 46 and a half or whatever. 46.1, Roberto says. Thank you. So I propose the IWC medium Pilot, and it's based on the big Pilot, but sort of an enthusiast preference here with date gone. And I think for the cleanliness of the dial, it would be cool if they could move the power reserve to the case back. Keep, if it's possible, squeeze that same 8-day movement in there. Again, we're throwing physics and dimensions out the window here just for a dream world, right? And here I'm going to throw a little bit of legacy out the window. No solid case back. I love that movement. I want to see it. So I'm going to go sapphire case back with somehow a power reserve display on it, and 43 millimeter diameter. So I know this is like total fantasy land, but I would love this watch. I think that the 43 would actually open it up to a lot more people in terms of the market for the watch. If they could keep that higher tier movement in there too, they could probably charge just as much as the big Pilot. And I think as the trend have gone towards a little bit of downsizing, this would kind of like bring back that watch into even greater relevance again. So yeah, that's the IWC I wish existed.
Okay, when I first saw this picture, like I hadn't heard your explanation of it. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. When I first saw it, I thought like this is a little bit of like a lazy edit. But like hearing your explanation of it, of a medium, like big-ish Pilot, I actually think it's really cool. And I think it would be obviously I can see this like perfectly for you, right? Like I know you well enough. Like this is the IWC big Pilot that you would design. But I like it. I think you're right to have the sapphire case back. I wish every watch had a sapphire case back. Like I get it's not always traditional, but like so much of what we love about these watches is the movements. I want to see it. I want to be able to appreciate it. So I am totally with you on that. I do have to say that the thumbnail that you created for like this video with like me with the IWC, it's not an IWC I would dream up. I guess that's, whatever, that one exists. So I personally like would never wear a big Pilot. It's just not my style. But for you, I get it. And you've tried them on a bunch of times, and it's always just like it's just a little too big.
A little big, especially with those lugs. Yeah. And I know 40. Couple comments here. 43 is still pretty big. Yeah, it is. I just think that it would wear with a good presence. And for me, since it's just my dream watch, that presence should still be there, but maybe just reduced a little bit. The crown, I love how prominent it is. So we just like shrink that in perfect proportion to try to keep that look. But yeah, so there you go. That's my dream. That's my dream thing. And Kus is kind of with us here. He likes the idea for the show because no watch he can afford is perfect. And I agree. There's always something I'd probably tweak, but these are not custom to us, right? So yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. I think we're on to your next pick.
Yeah, my IWC.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Talk us through it.
Yeah, so I don't really love any like ladies pilots watches that are out there. Like, Dan, I'm sorry, there's just not a Breitling that I'm super in love with right now. There's a couple that I like and like might be interested in, but that what I would actually buy, like I'm not so sure. So I wanted to take a fresh look at IWC and like what watch should I have. I really love the black ceramic Top Gun edition. Arthur, the one that you have, the chronograph, I think is just epically cool. It's super technical looking, just like a badass watch, and it's too giant for me to wear, but maybe you'll let me borrow that one on occasion because I like literally can't destroy it. So I'll work on you for trying that one out. But the three-hander Top Gun, I think is beautiful, and like it's I think it would be neat to make this size a little bit more for smaller wrists, but in particular market to ladies' wrists. And to me, 36 millimeters is like the perfect size for watches, just like hands down, it works for everything. So I would downsize this to 36 in my changing physics world. I would take out reference to Top Gun. It's not a Top Gun watch anymore, and try to do a reference to like famous female pilots. And so here, like, I don't know if you can see on the text, but I just did like Earhart, right? Like Amelia Earhart, or like one of the other famous, lady pilots that are out there.
Bessie Coleman. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think having something that still looks like, a little bit masculine of this like black, like very technical, like kind of aggressive watch is cool. I could totally see myself wearing this. Like, I love my like all white Planet Ocean. I would love an all black watch, and to have it be like tied to, a real pilot's watch brand, would be epically cool.
Yeah. Karan's got a good point here. It's not that far off from the Hodinkee Ceratanium IWC. If you really want a black pilot's watch in a more reasonable size, we could hunt one of those down.
Yeah, it's still like there's just still some things off about the Hodinkee version that's not like perfect for me. Like I didn't look at it and was like, that's exactly what I want. I know it's close, but I'm being super, super picky. And a little bit too, like I know I should buy a watch for the marketing or for the branding, but I really would like to see, I mean, IWC has done some great ladies watches. I generally like that they, also market to women for some of their more traditionally masculine watches. They don't say like this is a men's watch or this is a women's watch,
Right.
but I would like to see like a little, they're so tied to history, which is great, but I'd love to see a little like just nod to some lady pilots. It'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool because they have made 36 millimeter steel pilots, but
Right.
they kind of started to make them less purposeful looking. They all have like brushed metallic dials and they're nice. They're no doubt, but it'd be kind of cool to see something very serious looking at that size. But yeah.
It'd be cool maybe for this too, which I didn't do, is have like a red seconds hand. Maybe that would be neat. I don't know.
Yeah, and at least Koos says he's not a fan of names attached to watches, but at least this one doesn't have Buzz's butt on it like that Speedy.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, some good points here on, it seems like actually like sometimes Roberta's point is that sometimes guys seem to be more uptight about particular watch size to wrist size. And, there's some cool examples on Instagram of ladies wearing watches of all sizes, and IWC specifically. There's IWC girl who's, I believe, works for them in Brazil, but you see her wear some pretty cool stuff of all sizes, even big pilot kind of sizes too. But yeah,
no, I think it's great. And there's some women out there that rock like amazingly big watches, and I would like to do that on occasion. Like if I could borrow them, if you would let me borrow your watches on occasion, like I think that's neat for every now and then. And like I have some friends who wear big watches all the time, and I think it's great. But for me, when I'm spending that kind of money, I want to feel like something fits. And so since I'm dreaming up my own watches, like I don't think I would run out and get like anything bigger than 40 millimeters, probably. Not saying that I don't like those or don't appreciate it. I don't like seeing women wearing giant watches like that. That's great. But for me personally, I like having a watch. What really it is about it is I don't like when the lugs like fall over my wrist.
Hang off. Yeah.
Go beyond it.
I'm with you.
Yeah, that's where it's a pet peeve. So
it starts to get like awkward to the extent of being like uncomfortable almost. I think because Karan's got an interesting idea here. I don't know if people know, but IWC did do a pair of watches. It was like a big pilot and based off of one of the Mark series, but they still gave it kind of an onion crown, and it was a bit smaller. And they called them the Father and the Son, and they had silver dials. He's got a good suggestion. They should do a husband and a wife.
I love it.
I think that's a brilliant idea. We'd probably be in the market for those if they did.
We do have a couple watch pairings, right? Like you and I have a few like our Nomoses, that's kind of a his and hers. We both have Speedies, his and hers.
Right.
We have
I
Planet
think,
Ocean, his and hers. Now,
yeah, that's
we just
true.
keep copying each other. This is not very original,
I
I
mean,
suppose.
we got to be careful doing this show because we do kind of like echo chamber, similar taste back and forth
Yeah.
at each other. So it's probably good to have people in the chat keep us honest and all that. You know, it's funny because you were talking about, oh, you'd probably not spend money yourself on a watch that was bigger than 40 or whatever. If only there was someone that let you borrow those watches that were bigger.
If only.
If only, yeah, I'm too picky.
Well, I think the next one up is really my piece de resistance. And really, I don't think anyone has exceeded watch designing quite like I have here. This is really the pinnacle of jewelry and watch design combo in my and I can promise this is not one you're going to want to borrow, Arthur. So let's go ahead and go to the next
Okay,
slide.
all right. I think you're gonna kind of talk us through this step by step, right?
Yes. So I am proposing a Bulgari by Hermes collaboration, which I'm sure would happen. Like that just seems natural. I think the Serpenti watches that Bulgari makes, but in particular, like the jeweled ones where like there's scales on, each of the, like there's individual jewels on each of the scales of the snake is so neat. And for those of you who haven't seen these, like the heads pop open to have the watch in them. Arthur and I were
They're
lucky enough to
crazy.
see an exhibit in Paris a few years ago that had like a whole bunch of these, and they're just like so beautiful and crazy and stunning. Anyway, go to the next slide, please.
So those the ones you've shown exist, and now you're making some modifications, right?
Exactly. Yes, I'm making very critical modifications. But for me personally, like I don't have any affinity towards snakes. That's not like a thing I like or do, and not that I could ever afford one of these. I just like to look at them, appreciate them. Nor would I like ever have an occasion to wear like a bejeweled snake around my wrist. Like I'm not going to galas and red carpet events, but we're living in dream world, so why not? Anyway, but what I do love is horses. So if you follow me on Instagram, you know that like I'm out at the barn all the time. I ride horses. I always have. I like to have some jewelry with like a little, I like with Hermes enamel bracelets and some of their scarves, and always like having like little horse things in there, trying not to be like too much of like a crazy horse girl at 35, but whatever. I am who I am. So I decided to make this collaboration. You can go ahead and see the atrocity on the next slide.
You ready? Okay, here we go.
Okay, here we go. So I think it would be really cool to have like a Serpenti style watch, but like the head is a horse head instead of a snake head. And I realize that makes no sense and I don't care, but it's just like two of my favorite things combined. And as I was looking for like horse head images of like, something fancy from Hermes, I don't know, this popped up in Google Images and it's one of those stupid like masks that you put on. So I think this is really like peak perfection jewelry design.
So I will
don't even
say
really know how you respond to that, Arthur.
with the snake, at least that's the shape of a snake, right? So would the horse bracelet part have like legs sticking off in random directions? Or are you just like totally off the deep end here?
Well, I mean, look at the other horse bracelet. Like that's a real Hermes horse bracelet where it's like two heads and just like pretty and artistic. But no, I'm not suggesting the tail is like a fluffy like horse tail on the other side or a leg sticking out. Maybe I haven't really thought this through. It was more like a seahorse thing. I don't know. But yeah. Yes. Thank you. Maybe
Designers
will
are
hire me
watching.
for.
Yeah, that's right. That's funny. Quite a few people, Karan, Chris, saying, "Yeah, this is very Godfather, the horse head." And it looks like we're joined by probably Rick or Ricky from Scottish Watches as well. Hey, that's good. Just in time to see
This is when they tune in. Yeah, for this like
the pinnacle of the work we put together today. Yeah. Oh my God, that is a very you watch. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. I really love that you use the like horse mask image. We've got one of those up in the attic somewhere. I should have gotten it down for this, but yeah.
That's okay. Like we can go past this, but like yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I would love to have Serpenti one day in my collection. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But like if I like that is my favorite like crazy jewelry design kind of watch. But I don't like snakes. I like horses. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Someone raised a point in the comments.
Bulgari
I'm not sure there's not a lot of people that do have an affinity for snakes. It's just kind of an odd thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
I don't know, but like Cartier has like the jaguar thing. They've done some other animals. I mean, Hermes is like just all horses, right? Like they have that crazy watch with the horse head in it. And even in that Arthur, I'm forgetting. You'll know what I'm talking about. The one with the moons that moves, but you can see like an etching of a horse's head in it.
Right, or a Pegasus in one of the moons, I think.
Yeah.
A crazy Hermes moon phase watch. I love that one, by the way. Yeah. Well.
Okay, let's move on from this. This is a nightmare.
Okay, we've got one more left, and this is a special one. This is a watch we wish existed for Dan's sake. So he's gone but not forgotten, and we wanted to create something that he would like best. I think it was Koos who said he missed talking about Breitling. So we tried to take, a watch that Dan loves, and I think he always says he owns his Grail watch, right? With that Navitimer 806. But there's another watch that's really, really elusive. And he picked it in one of our challenges in the past, and we have not been able to find one to buy. It's not the expense. It's not its popularity that's holding us back. It's just, I think they're out of production. And that was the Mr. Bean wacky tie watch. So I thought, what could be a more like pure expression of Dan than what I've created here? So this is the Navitimer 806 re-edition Dan X Mr. Bean collaboration. And I think it just sort of like sums up his personality in one watch, this like serious love of aviation and vintage pilot watch design with that like great sense of humor and the wackiness of Mr. Bean. So, sure, maybe he'd like the grumpy looking subdial to be the running seconds instead. I don't know. I'm not going to argue over the finer points of the masterpiece that's on display here, but this one's for Dan. I think people will like it. Roberto's made a great point. Show the case back. I didn't think that far. I think there's a lot of room for real creativity on the case back. I think like a really nice engraved or embossed portrait of Mr. Bean would be pretty cool. Something along those lines. Roberto's also got a great name for it, the Bean Pilot. Yeah, I think we're going to go with that. That's awesome. So George Kern, if you're listening, or watch Fred, the Breitling collector who helped advise on some of these reeditions, I think you should really be considering this, because I think you'd make one guy in the UK very, very happy. So that's all I got.
I think it's really quite excellent. A little terrifying, but it's a good tribute to Dan.
Yeah, I thought we should do that. The Beantling is another possible name, and a great case back idea here is Mr. Bean flying around like the Snoopy, maybe in like a little biplane or something, with his teddy bear. That's a good point. Got to have the teddy in one of the sundials. Should have done it. Yeah. So I guess we wanted to ask you guys: are there watches you wish existed? So if you can comment in the chat, we'll do a little discussion on that if we've got a little time here. I've got a few questions in the meantime.
Go
ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask one question. I mean, like, in all seriousness of this, I am actually like, I know you and I joke around a lot, Arthur, and like we had fun, doing these silly things put together. But I am actually really curious about how the watch design process actually works. Like, when does it start in an annual cycle? How many years is it out? Is it always starting from a scratch piece of paper? Is it taking a movement and trying to modify it? It does make me want to know about, like, not just like the movement design, but how the whole how these decisions happen. I see it in my industry. You see it a little bit in your industry, but I think it would be something that would be fun to like delve into and learn a little bit more about how these decisions happen.
I agree, and I only like once have I had a chance to ask that a question sort of on that topic, and there was a really cool DC Red Bar event, virtually actually, during the pandemic with Vacheron Constantin. And they were showing the new overseas perpetual calendar in skeleton dial or skeletonized version in rose gold. And they had a non-skeletonized version prior. And I asked them, I was like, so when you guys designed that movement in the first place, or that watch, did you have future skeletization in mind? Because the way they design a bridge or a plate, or, the structure to make sure it's going to hold up to forces and daily use and so on. And they said yes. So like from the beginning in designing that movement, they may have sized things for down the road, making sure that once they were skeletonized, they would hold up and that architecture would work. So that was just sort of like one window I had into that. And I loved a chance to be able to ask more questions like that and learn about that, because that was just movement. That was just one aspect of movement design, but I think it goes pretty deep. So yeah, maybe we'll get some more opportunities. We've got some cool ideas here. Roberto's got a pretty similar watch to me that he'd like made, which is, I wanted a 43 medium pilot. He wants a 45.5 big pilot. I'd take that too. Sure. Fine. Yeah, we can compromise.
IWC can sell too.
Yeah, that's right. I like this one, and this one's been a popular rumor for a while. White dialed Explorer 1.
I would love that. I mean, I have a 36 millimeter Explorer 1, and it's fantastic. I'd probably wear that watch more than anything else. But to have a white dial, I think, would be really cool. Or to bring back the Space Dweller, or not, what was it, Arthur? The Space Explorer 1.
Space Dweller. The 1016 Space Dweller.
To bring that back would be really cool. I would buy a white dial Explorer 1 in a heartbeat. Like, even at 39 millimeters, full stop, no hesitation.
Yep. Roberto's big on the water resistance, so he said a Longines Heritage or a Speedy with real water resistance. Yep, that is one of the shortcomings of those particular models, that's for sure. This is a real dream. Available Rolex for those that want them. That's the most outlandish dream I've heard on the show today. But I'm kind of with
all
you
the
there.
show all day. Like, there's no way. It's ridiculous.
But Bulgari is more likely to make the Hermes collaboration horsehead watch, I think, than that have happened. Let's see. Koos was saying a white dial Snoopy that's not special edition. I mean, they're kind of getting closer because it's not a limited edition this time, right? It's still just low production. Let's see. This is an interesting one. More watches with countdown bezels as opposed to count up, like diver bezels. That's cool. It makes me think, Breitling with the Chronomats, I think the new Chronomats includes 2 bezels, so you can swap between count up and count down.
I would use the countdown way more. Like, I use dive bezels or chronos when I'm wearing it, like mostly to time things in the kitchen, if I'm being honest, or to time some like workout stuff or like riding horses stuff. But a countdown would be way more useful, actually. So I'm all for having that function.
That'd be cool. I agree. Let's see. Oh, Polly's got an interesting one here. Grand Seiko Spring Drive in a non-polished 38 millimeter case. Their sizing can be a little frustrating, I think, because it's like smaller, very polished dress stuff, or sometimes a little oversized, brush stuff. So I'm with you there. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I actually thought about trying to like come up with my perfect Grand Seiko here because I love Grand Seiko, but I haven't found, well, I will say the Kirizuri edition Grand Seiko is probably my perfect one, which I would buy if I could find it, and I regret not buying it when I had the opportunity. That was terrible. But I'm with you, 38 millimeter unpolished case. But for me, if I'm gonna get a Grand Seiko, it has to have spring drive. Like that's critical for me, and I want a
At least that's
really
your
cool
first
dial.
one, right? Yeah,
Um,
I think it's the way to go.
Sure, if we're going down the slippery slope. But yeah, I'd go for unpolished too.
Yep. And I know I've talked to Karan about this. He said they should just stop it with all the limited editions. I think especially as a retailer, he's seen the trend and they're just like cranking out limited edition after limited. I mean, this year for the 60th anniversary, I think they made like 5 or 6 different limited editions just around that anniversary in about every possible shape or form you could imagine. It is a little bit out of hand, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Whoops, excuse me. Alejandra says less than 34 millimeter chronographs. That'd be interesting. What do you think?
Well, I love smaller watches, obviously. But I feel like if I can get something that's 36, I'm super happy, right? But 34, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and actually, I mean, kind of playing off of this, not just chronographs, but one thing that has, I really haven't found like a great smaller GMT that I love. Like, I would love a GMT in 36 millimeters, and there's some
Yeah.
out there, but there's just nothing that's like really, um, hit the nail on the head for me. So,
Right.
yeah,
I think going vintage, you can find some smaller chronographs, which is cool. But, vintage chronograph movements, you're getting into the whole like reliability, what's
yeah.
serviceability kind of space. And that can be challenging too, for sure. Yeah. So I think that's about it. I like the folks' ideas in the chat. Definitely some ones that we sort of missed out on opportunities. But for us, or for me, those were kind of the ones I want to see. I certainly could have gone higher in some price points too, to like, dream versions of Grail watches and stuff like that. But kind of wanted to keep it reasonable to stuff that I would try to buy in a heartbeat if it existed. So yeah.
That could be like second edition of this show is like the high horology,
Right,
Stephanie's
right.
Longa and Arthur's whatever. But yeah, we'll save our photoshopping skills for a future high end version.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to do some more really neat watches with like astronomical complications and stuff like that. So that'd probably come
Yeah.
into it. Maybe we'll do another one on that. But yeah, cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining. And Stephanie, I think this is a good one as with you as permanent co-host. So may have a guest on next week, but I'll leave that as a teaser. As usual, check out the Scottish Watches podcast, the main Scottish Watches channel, and for Scottish Watches Live in this channel, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you know when we're going live in future shows. And you can follow us on Instagram at our individual account handles, which are there, and also at callthea.d. All right. On that note, I think we'll end it. Happy Sunday, everybody, and we'll see you next week. All right. Bye.
See you later. Bye.